Standing Order 243. 1. Approves an increase of the current expenditure for 2024-2025 by Kenya shillings 39,114,991,340 in respect to the votes contained in the first schedule. 2. Approves the decrease of the total capital expenditure for financial year 2024-2025 by Kenya shillings 3,378,082,314 in respect of the votes contained in first schedule. 3. Approves an overall increase in the total budget for financial year 2024-2025 by Kenya shillings 35,739,909,026 in respect to the votes contained in the first schedule. 4. Approves the expenditures under Article 223 of the Constitution as contained in the fourth schedule. And 5. Resolves that the first schedule forms the basis for the introduction of supplementary appropriation number 2, Bill 2025. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you. Chairperson, Constitution Implementation Oversight Committee.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion. That this House adopts the report of the Constitutional Implementation Oversight Committee laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 24th June 2025, on the status of implementation of the Constitution by, number 1, the Office of the Controller of Budget, number 2, the Commission on Revenue Allocation, and 3, the Office of the Auditor General. Mr. Speaker, while on this, allow me, Mr. Speaker, to say something a little bit different. Mr. Speaker.
What is it?
Mr. Speaker. Yes. Mr. Speaker, I noticed in the media, mainstream media today, the newspaper, print media, that my name has been splashed in headline news as a warmonger. While, Mr. Speaker, I will not be intimidated by the media, allow me to say, Mr. Speaker, that the events of...
Order. Kamket, I'll give you an opportunity at statement time, which is the next order. Just take your seat. Next, Chairperson, Public Debt and Privatization Committee.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that this House adopts the report of the Public Debt and Privatization Committee on its consideration of the Consolidated Fund Services for the Supplementary Estimates 3 for financial year 2024-2025, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 24th June 2025.
Thank you. Next, Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning. Molo. Give you a notice of motion.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that this House adopts a report of the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning on its consideration on the ratification of the agreement establishing the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, laid on the table of the House today, Tuesday, 24th of June 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 8.4 of the Treaty Making and Ratification Act, Cap 4D, that this House approves the ratification of the agreement establishing the European Bank for Reconciliation and Development. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you. Next order.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
Kamket, I give you 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was saying, Mr. Speaker, that, Mr. Speaker, the Honorable William Kamket, member for Tiati, is a Prince of Peace.
Do you know what a Prince of Peace means?
Yes, you are looking at one, Mr. Speaker. I am a prince of peace, indeed.
You are not.
The Kamket they are referring to, Mr. Speaker, is a different Kamket, it's a Kamket of the media.
Order, Kamket. Call yourself a peace-loving member. You are not a prince of peace.
I'm a peace-loving Kenyan.
Yes.
And indeed a prince of peace.
Order, strike out the words prince of peace from the Hansard.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You are not.
I am a peace-loving Kenyan.
That's okay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, while I shall not be intimidated, Mr. Speaker, it is on record, and it shall remain on record, Mr. Speaker, that the events of 25th of June last year were nothing other than an attempted civilian coup that was led by none other than the former Deputy President, whom we impeached in this House, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, the activities that they are now planning to commemorate the attempted overthrow of our constitutionally elected government shall not be tolerated by all peace-loving Kenyans, Mr. Speaker.
Order.
And therefore, Mr. Speaker,
Kamket,
yes, Mr. Speaker.
what was in the papers?
Mr. Speaker, there is an attempt. There is an attempt by the print media.
Just listen to your speaker. Because I read all the papers studiously. By 4 a.m. I've read all of them. And what they said of you is that you are a warmonger and you are spewing out hate material against people in the country. So limit yourself to that.
Yes.
Yes.
And Mr. Speaker, indeed, Mr. Speaker, the real inciters to hatred in this country is the media, Mr. Speaker. And especially the print media, Mr. Speaker. They are the ones who have been inciting our youth by bringing issues that are foreign to them, Mr. Speaker. And, Mr. Speaker, by trying to paint leaders who paint that what they are doing or what they are planning is wrong, and trying to paint them in bad light, it's an attempt to intimidate leaders, Mr. Speaker. And I'm standing in this House to say, Mr. Speaker, that what happened last year was indeed an attempted civilian coup, and it shall be said so, Mr. Speaker. I will continue saying so. And those who are planning to bring our children to the streets tomorrow are the people we are addressing, Mr. Speaker. And we are telling them that they shall not escape the rule of law, whoever they are, Mr. Speaker. And by trying to intimidate peace-loving Kenyans like myself, they shall not succeed, and they will not succeed at all times. Those people are inciters. They are the worst inciters this country has seen, and we shall call them for who they are. Me, as Member of Parliament for Tiati, Mr. Speaker, I am a peace-loving Kenyan, and I'll ensure that if ever any Kenyan is demonstrating peacefully, they will go home. We will ensure that they'll go home peacefully. But anybody who comes with the intention of destroying properties of others, anybody who comes with the intention of disturbing the peace shall be met with the full force of the law. It cannot be right, Mr. Speaker, that those who are inciting Kenyans, those who are inciting our youth are left scot-free. And therefore, when we call them out, we are called warmongers. That shall not be allowed, Mr. Speaker.
Point made. Mashua Waithaka. Mashua Waithaka. Give Mashua Waithaka, member for Kiambu, the mic. Lenga kule alipo.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 44-2C, I wish to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations regarding the disappearance of Mr. Ruben Varwa, a Kenyan in the United States of America. Honorable Speaker, on 13 May 2025, Mr. Ruben Varwa of ID number 550886 and his wife, who reside in Lumberi in Kiambu constituency, traveled to the state of Alabama in the U.S. to visit their son. Upon arrival on the 14th May 2025, Mr. Karua fell ill and his son took him to receive medical attention in a nearby hospital. However, the following day, on the 14th May 2025, Mr. Karua reportedly left the house for a walk and has not been seen or heard from since. The matter was reported to Calera Police Station in Alabama. It's now been 4 weeks since his disappearance, yet no substantial update has been communicated to the family regarding the process of investigations. This has left the family in a state of uncertainty and distress. The situation has also raised concern about the safety and well-being of Kenyans abroad, as well as the effectiveness of our diplomatic interventions in such instances. Honorable Speaker, it's against this background that I request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations on the following. 1, a report on the status of investigations into the disappearance of Mr. Ruben Varwa in the U.S. 2, measures being undertaken by the Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs to assist in locating and the whereabouts of Mr. Varwa, including coordination with the U.S. authorities and provision of regular updates to his family. And 3, long-term strategies taken by the government to enhance the safety and welfare of Kenyans traveling abroad. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Chair, Defense, Intelligence and Foreign. Major Bashir, you are the Vice Chair, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, when can you bring a response? I know we are recessing on Thursday, but because of the importance of the matter, try and furnish the honorable member with some written response in 2 weeks. Then we can mention the matter when we resume.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Well guided, and I think we shall do that. Within 2 weeks, we'll be able to give him a response and formally bring it to the House after recess. Thank you.
Thank you. Ekwam Nabwin. Yes, Honorable Nabwin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provision of Standing Orders number 44-2C, I wish to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations regarding the status of investigations into Todonyang massacre. Honorable Speaker, on 22nd February 2025, armed assailants believed to be members of the Dasnash militia from the neighboring country of Ethiopia carried out a brutal cross-border attack on the villages of Lotira and Lopeimukat in Todonyang location, Turkana County. The attackers targeted innocent civilians, mainly fishermen and small-scale traders, leading to the loss of more than 40 Kenyans and destruction of critical fishing equipment. In addition, the attackers left many families grieving the loss of their loved ones and without their primary means of livelihood. Despite this tragic event, similar deadly attacks have continued to occur within Kenyan territory, raising serious concerns about the security of the people at the border and underscoring the need for swift action to be taken. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations on the following. 1, a report on the status of investigations into the Todonyang massacre that occurred on 22nd February 2025, including the steps taken to collaborate with the Ethiopian authorities to apprehend the culprits. 2, the measures put in place to address security breaches at Kenyan border along Lake Turkana, and confirmation whether the security forces have been deployed to ensure protection of these Kenyans at the border. 3, the steps taken by the Ministry of Defense through the KDF to protect the fishermen along Lake Turkana during their fishing expeditions. And 4, the measures put in place to ensure that the families of victims are compensated and an indication of when they will receive their compensation. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Bashir?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. You have heard the request for statement, and that was a very unfortunate incident on the 22nd February 2025. Honorable Speaker, I think I will also equally say the same response as earlier given, that we'll be able to give the Honorable Member a written submission in 2 weeks' time, and after recess, we'll bring a statement to the floor of the House after recess.
Thank you. Responses. Bashir again to a request by Honorable Jane Kagiri, member for Laikipia. Is Jane Kagiri in the House? The questioner is not in the House. To be fair to her, we can stay the question, rather the statement response. If she comes before end of statement time, we can deal with it. Transport and infrastructure. Response to a request by Joseph Gitari. Is Joseph Gitari in the House? Yes, he is. GK, go ahead.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the member for Kirinyaga Central, the Honorable Joseph Gitari, MP, requested for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure regarding the status of construction and rehabilitation of roads in Kirinyaga Central constituency. Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Gashoki sought to, among other things, establish the status of the following road projects in Kirinyaga. Is Kiamudhambe Gatuto Road, Kagumo Kangaita Road, Kerogoya Prisons to Kemande Road, Kerogoya Gaos, Kandakame Road, Kevingo Keratina Road, Mungedha Gitumbe Mugwande Road, and Motira Kagumo Kiamaina Gadudoma Kianjage Road. B, report on the status of rehabilitation works for the following roads: Gakoigo Kiandieri Kangaita Road and Miringairi Kiawakara Road. And 3, interventions by the ministry to ensure the completion of these projects, including specific completion dates. Honorable Speaker, the committee received a response from the Ministry of Roads and Transport on 14th May 2025, which I now wish to make. Regarding reports on the status of the following roads, Kiamudhambe, Kerogoya Gaos, Mugedha roads, the ministry submitted that these roads are in the project contract number RWC 286 under Jiang's Water Hydropower Construction Company Limited as the contractor. The roads are currently incomplete because the contractor suspended works since October 2022 due to delayed payments amounting to Kenya shillings 383 million. 2, the original completion date was 4th October 2020. The revised project completion date was 1st May 2022. The current project physical progress is at 85.5% against 160.90% time elapsed. The ministries further submitted that Kiamudhambi Gatuto Road, covering 2.68 kilometers, has stalled after completion of the base layer construction. The Kerugoya Gaos Kandakame Road, covering 1.96 kilometers, has been halted after the first seal surface layer was laid, with a 100-meter section remaining unconstructed due to unresolved well issues. The Mungetha Gitumbe Mugwande Road, covering 3.818 kilometers, has similarly stalled following the completion of its base layer construction. All these three projects currently remain incomplete, with work suspended at these various stages of development. Honorable Speaker, regarding Kagumo Kangaita Road, the ministry submitted that this road link is in the project contract number RWC 621 under China Wuyi Company as the contractor. A section of 4.2 kilometers along Kagumo Kangaita is complete, with the remaining 2.75 incomplete. The contractor has not been on site since December 2024 due to delayed payment of an amount of Kenya shillings 141.5 million. The original completion date was 26 July 2024. The current project physical progress is at that 1.85 against 120.99% time elapsed. Regarding Mutira, Kagumo, Kiamaina, Gadudhoma, Kianjagi Road, the ministry submitted that these roads are in the project contract number RWC 549 under China Wuyi Company Limited as the contractor. A section of 6.5 kilometers along Mutira, Kagumo is complete, and the remaining 10.75 incomplete. There are no ongoing works because the contractor has suspended works since November. The contractor suspended works since November 2024 due to delayed payments amounting to Kenya shillings 290.5 million. The original completion date was 2nd July 2022. The revised project completion date was 12th February 2024. And the current project physical progress is at 69.84 against 120.46% time elapsed. Honorable Speaker, regarding Kerugoya prisons, Kimande Road and Kibingo Karatina Road, the ministry stated that the two roads are under the county government jurisdiction. Regarding status of rehabilitation works for Kakoigo, Kiandieri, Kangaita Road, that is 13.08 kilometers, the ministry submitted that the road project forms part of RWC 286 under Jiangxi Water Hydro Construction Company Limited. The road shall be rehabilitated by the contractor upon the scheduled resumption of works On Meringairi, Kiawakara Road, the ministry submitted that this road was constructed under Road 2000 program, which was completed in January 2021. The rehabilitation of this road has been factored in the RMLF 10% funding for financial year 24-25. The original completion date for the project was 21st January 2021, and the project was 100% complete. Regarding interventions by the ministry to ensure the completion of these projects, including specific completion dates. The ministry submitted that through the Kenya Rural Roads Authority, the ministry shall communicate the specific completion dates for the stalled projects upon resolution of the funding challenges that has caused the slowing down of or complete withdrawal of contractors from site. Towards this end, the ministry has made requests for enhanced annual budgetary allocations to enable the offsetting of the enormous pending bills owed to contractors for road work certified countrywide, including those in Kirinyaga County. In addition, the ministry has initiated several interventions towards settling pending bills, including actively exploring alternative financing initiatives and seeking support from development partners. Honorable Speaker, I submit.
Budgetary, you satisfied? We move on.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm not fully satisfied, but I sympathize with my friend, my neighbor, Honorable GK, because he was not the author of this reply. Mr. Speaker, my statement was a bit specific. And one of the things I was asking in number C was the actual completion date. Not the completion dates that were there before 2024, 2022. Mr. Speaker, I'm coming from a premise that Mutira Kagumo Kiamaina Gadodoma Road, even the president came and launched it. And to my thinking was that maybe there was money for that, and people of Kirinyaga are still waiting for that. Mr. Speaker, on this other road, Kerogoya Girls Kandakame Road, Mr. Speaker, it has been there for a very long time. So I was imagining that the chairman would have consulted the ministry properly because he comes from the same zone and to get appropriate answer, Mr. Speaker.
Have you brought an inappropriate answer?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I actually know these roads, not just by name, but I know where they are located. These are roads that I have used in Kirinyaga County.
Is your statement factual?
So my statement is factual in as far as the funding challenge is concerned. I think that's the main point here, Honorable Speaker. It's not about the timelines, but availability of resources to complete these projects. I didn't want to see these projects completed myself because I am Honorable Getare's countermate, and we'll do our best to support him and to support the people of Kirinyaga and, by extension, the people of Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to the next. Transport and infrastructure. Is Lelmengit in the house? Joseph Lelmengit is not in the house. Is Jen Kagiri in the house now?
Point of order.
Yes, Wangari.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Before you exit that order, just to remind you, Mr. Speaker, last Thursday I requested for that statement on gambling from the Chair Finance. You instructed that I write to your office, which I did. Maybe you can give the direction so that we know the way forward before the recess. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I directed the clerk to cause the chairman to bring a response. Chairman, tomorrow or Thursday, are you able?
So, Honorable Speaker, I thank you for your indulgence, and I want to issue an apology to the Honorable Martha Wangari for the delay in this. Honorable Speaker, as you are aware, there were several other businesses that were referred to my committee, but we'll do our best to make sure we have a report by Thursday.
That's why I didn't put any pressure on you, because I knew the load of business that was before you. Can you do so on Thursday?
I'll do so on Thursday, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. So statement requests and responses For Jane Kagiri, member for Laikipia, and Joses Lelimengit will be stayed until Thursday. Hopefully they will be here. So Major Bashir and GK, be ready for Thursday. Next order.
Order number 8, procedural motion. Extension of sittings and resolution to hold a Thursday morning sitting.
Majority Leader, but before you order members on their feet, take your seats. Richard, take your seat. Honorable members, allow me to recognize a visiting delegation from the bicameral legislature of Nigeria. I wish to introduce to you a visiting delegation of members drawn from the Committee on Constitutional Review of the House of Representatives of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who are seated in the Speaker's row. They comprise of the following: the Right Honorable Professor Julius Ihonvere. When I mention your name, you stand. House Majority Leader and Deputy Chairman of the Select Committee and Head of Delegation. Honorable Fatima Talba, Member. Honorable Rotimi Oluwaseni, Member. Honorable Omobi Oga, Member. Honorable Kabiru Amadou Mai Palace, Member. Honorable Ajia Abdurrahman, Member. And 7, Wali Baba Shehu, Clerk of the House of Representatives. And Professor Kathleen Okafor, Committee Consultant. The delegation is accompanied by senior House and Senate staff, as well as an external partners from the Policy and Legal Advocacy Center of Nigeria. Honorable members, the Select Committee is currently considering several amendments to bills, one of which is seeking to create additional women-only seats in the national and subnational legislatures of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. They are here to benchmark on the best practices and legislative interventions that enhance women's political representation and to engage in peer learning on measures adopted in Kenya towards actualization of that goal. Honorable members, on my behalf and on that of the entire National Assembly, I extend a warm welcome to the delegation and wish them fruitful deliberations and engagements during their stay. Sure. Majority Leader, the lead of delegation being your counterpart, I'll give you a minute to lend. Yes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, on behalf of the House, allow me to take this opportunity also to welcome that delegation from the Federal Republic of Nigeria. As you've heard, Honorable Speaker, members were, as they acclaimed and welcomed them, they were all saying Igwe.
Yes.
As you called out their names and led by their leader of majority, let me say Karibu to Kenya, and may you take your time to learn as much as you can. Indeed, Honorable Speaker, we are a country where many African countries can learn from ourselves and the Republic of Rwanda on women representation in the House. And I think Kenya being a universal suffrage system of election of women leaders is a better place to learn from rather than where it is party-based, Honorable Speaker, and therefore this delegation is in the right place. And I do hope that the chair of the caucus of the 47 women reps can get time to also engage with this delegation and be able to guide them on what amendments they could enact in their legislation. With that, Honorable Speaker, allow me to...
Before you do so, I've been requested by Wangari to lend support to your voice of welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on behalf of yourself and the panel today, led by the Deputy Speaker, we were able to host this delegation for an intense, almost an hour and a half discussion. And there is a lot of exchange that we have learned from each other, from the two countries. But more importantly, on what they're working on, Mr. Speaker, we are a country, as the majority leader has said, that they can be able to copy a lot from, because in the Nigerian Senate, out of 109 members, only 4 are women. In the House of Representatives, out of 360, only 16 are women. So in total, they only have 4% representation of women. And I think this was the right place to come for this benchmarking. We have shared a lot in terms of the legislations that we have put in place. We have also shared a lot, Mr. Speaker, on the constitutional journey that this country has traveled to be able to get to where we are, Mr. Speaker. So I know they'll still be here for a few more days. They should be having a meeting on Thursday with the Kenya women parliamentarians, so that we also exchange notes on how we can help them to frame the legal framework for their country. And we are happy to always welcome them back to this country, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. I appreciate.
Thank you, Majority Leader. You can now proceed with your motion.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, maybe before I move, it's also important to note, as Honorable Mother Wangari says, we also came from where Nigeria is today.
Yes.
There was a time there were very few women, elected women members of parliament in this country.
Tell them when I first came to this parliament in 1992, there were 3 elected women.
Yes, including the Honorable Wanjiru.
Including the prophetess.
Yes. So Honorable Speaker, I was saying is indeed a long walk for us to get to where we are.
Yes.
And I do hope that the Republic of Nigeria, being an African powerhouse like Kenya in the western part of Africa, just like Kenya is a powerhouse in Eastern Africa, they will lead from the front. And Africa is better with more women representing their people, both in the legislature and in the executive. And we look forward, Honorable Speaker, to a time when Nigeria and Kenya will have women presidents leading our 2 great countries. And I do hope, Honorable Speaker, that we'll be able to see this in our lifetime. And I know in this House there are very many capable women who can be future presidents of this republic after the 10 years of President William Ruto. Honorable Speaker, allow me to move a procedural motion on order number 8, that pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 33A and B, on hours of meeting, this House resolves to 1. Extend sittings of Wednesday, 25th June 2025 afternoon sitting and Thursday, 26th June 2025 afternoon sitting to midnight for purposes of consideration of priority business ahead of the short recess. And 2. To hold a morning sitting on Thursday, 26th June 2025, commencing at 9:30 a.m. Honorable Speaker, this motion is pursuant to what we agreed in the House Business Committee this lunch hour, that to allow us to conclude with all the important business that we have before we proceed on our short recess on Thursday evening, that we slot in a Thursday morning sitting and extend the sittings tomorrow up to midnight, and also Thursday to extend the sitting up to midnight, so that we may conclude all the important business that we have, including the supplementary appropriations bill, whose debate the chair has just given notice, the virtual assets bill that again the chair has just tabled, the chair finance has just tabled its report, and all the other priority business that we have on the order paper for today, tomorrow, and the day after, Honorable Speaker. And with that, Honorable Speaker, I beg to move and request the Honorable Osoro to second.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Yes, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. As the majority leader has rightly put it, Honorable Speaker, looking at the calendar of this House, Honorable Speaker, this House will be proceeding for recess from Thursday. And it's quite in order for us to dispense of every business that we have before us, very serious business that we have before us, as we indeed discussed in the House Business Committee, before we proceed. So with that, Honorable Speaker, I beg to second.
Thank you. Members on their feet, take your seats. Take your seats. Major Deco, take the nearest seat. Honorable members, I'll now propose the question at order number 8, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Orders 33A and B, hours of meeting, this House resolves to 1. Extend sittings of Wednesday, 25th June 2025, afternoon sitting, and Thursday, 26th June 2025, afternoon sitting to midnight for purposes of consideration of priority business ahead of the short recess. And number 2, hold a morning sitting on Thursday, 26th June 2025, commencing at 9:30 a.m. Do I put the question, members? I'll now put the question, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Orders 33A and B, hours of meeting, this House resolves to 1. Extend sittings of Wednesday, 25th June 2025, afternoon sitting, and Thursday, 26th June 2025, afternoon sitting to midnight for purposes of consideration of priority business ahead of the short recess. And 2, hold a morning sitting on Thursday, 26th June 2025, commencing at 9:30 a.m. As members of that opinion say aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 9, procedural motion, reduction of the publication period of a specified bill.
Honorable Atandi, Chair, Budget and Appropriations Committee.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I would like to move that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 120, this House resolves to reduce the publication period of the supplementary appropriations number 2, National Assembly Bill number 26 of 2025, from 7 days to 1 day. Honorable Speaker, we have roughly 4 days to the end of this financial year. And because the House is going to short recess in the course of this week, and also that this supplementary appropriations bill 3 to normalize the under Article 223. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, I would like to beg the House that we shorten the publication period for 1 day so that we are able to process this bill before the close of this session. Honorable Speaker, I move. Thank you. I would like to ask the Majority Leader second.
Who? Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to second, and as the Chair has said, in view of the fact that we have only less than 4 days to the end of the financial year, and we need to conclude the supplementary appropriations bill for this financial year and have it ascended to before the end of the year, it's important that we reduce that publication period to 1 day. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I second.
Order. Members on their feet, take your seats. CNN, take your seat. Honorable members, I now propose the question at order number 9, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 120, this House resolves to reduce the publication period of the supplemental appropriation number 2 bill, National Assembly Bill number 26 of 2025, from 7 days to 1 day. Put the question. Honorable members, I'll now put the question at order number 9, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 120, this House resolves to reduce the publication period of the supplemental appropriation number 2 bill, National Assembly Bill number 26 of 2025, from 7 days to 1 day. As members of that opinion say aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Order number 10, the supplementary appropriation number 2 bill, National Assembly Bill number 26 of 2025, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to authorize the issue of certain sums of money out of the consolidated fund and the application toward the service of the year ending on the 30th June 2025, and to appropriate those sums for certain public services and purposes. Order number 11, motion. Consideration of the fourth generation revenue sharing formula for counties.
Honorable Atandi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I would like to move that, taking into consideration of the findings of the Budget and Appropriations Committee in its report of the consideration of the fourth basis for revenue sharing for county governments.
Honorable members, hold on, Honorable Atandi. Honorable members, like I advised the House. Order, Honorable Julius, take your seat. Like I advised the House, whoever has any contrary view to the content of this motion and you want to overturn it, you must garner 233 members. So when it comes to voting, that is the constitutional threshold. Go on, Atandi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I would like to move that, taking into consideration of the findings of the Budget and Appropriations Committee in its report on the consideration of the fourth basis for revenue sharing for county governments laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 19th June 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 217, 1 and 4 of the Constitution, on allocation of the share of national revenue among counties, this House concurs with the Senate and approves the fourth basis for annual allocation of the share of national revenue to the county level of government for the financial years 2025, 2026, 2029 to 2030, without amendments as follows. Number one, for county equitable share below 415 billion, county allocation is equal to baseline allocation ratio of 387 billion 425 plus Kenya shillings 3 billion shared equally among identified 12 counties plus 0.45 of population index plus 0.35 of equal share index plus 0.12 of poverty index plus 0.08 of geographical size index and equitable share index of 390.425 billion. Number two, for county equitable share of 415 billion and below, county allocation is equivalent to baseline allocation ratio of 387.425 billion plus 4.46 billion shared equally among the identified 12 counties plus 0.5 of population index plus 0.35 of equal share index plus 0.12 poverty index plus 0.08 geographical size index plus equitable share of 391.89 billion. Where number one, baseline allocation ratio is equal to allocation factor derived from each county's allocation for the financial year 2024-2025. Number two, the 12 identified counties are Elgeyo Marakwet, Embu, Isiolo, Kirinyaga, Laikipia, Lamu, Nyamira, Nyandarua, Samburu, Taita, Taveta, Tharaka Nithi, and Vihiga. Number three, population index is based on the 2019 Kenya population and housing census. Number four, the poverty index is based on the 2022 Kenya poverty report by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. And number five, geographical size is capped at 10%. Honorable Speaker, I would like to say that what we are discussing before the House is the fourth basis of revenue sharing. Since the promulgation of the new Constitution, we've had three revenue basis sharing formulas. So this is going to be the fourth one, and every 5 years, a new formula is developed, where the national share of revenue allocated to counties is shared among counties. Honorable Speaker, there are many parameters that have been used in the past when considering the allocations to counties, sharing of these resources among counties. One of the prominent formulas that has been used in the past is the population formula parameter. Honorable Speaker, population has been used to decide how much money goes to each county. There are some counties that are highly populated, others that are not highly populated. The ones that are highly populated have been able to receive more allocation than the ones that have lower population. Honorable Speaker, this consideration has been a very good parameter. It is a parameter that is used in most jurisdictions, India and many other countries that are undertaking devolution, so that if the population is high, you are likely to get more resources. The reason being that if the population is very high, it means that you need more resources to be able to manage, provide services to the population. Honorable Speaker, the only challenge we have with this parameter is that, like in Kenya, for example, population census is not done very regularly. It is done after a very long time. So estimating the reality of population in a particular area is becoming a very big challenge. And we want to urge that in future we have a regular population census being conducted so that we are sure that the population we are considering resources for in counties is matched. Honorable Speaker, the other parameter which has been considered here is the land area. Honorable Speaker, land area is a very important parameter because for areas that are counties that are very large, have large land size, accessing services becomes a problem for populations. So they need to be given more resources so that they're able to provide services to populations wherever they are found. So this has been also a very important formula which has been considered when deciding the resources to counties. The other formula, the parameter which has been used, Honorable Speaker, is poverty index. Honorable Speaker, this parameter has been challenged because it is a basis for sharing resources. There are some counties that have refused to develop or even improve their poverty levels because they are sure that because that parameter is going to be used to give them more resources, they have been able to just remain poor. So we want to say, Honorable Speaker, that even though this parameter has been used here again, we want to urge that going forward, it needs to be a lesser parameter so that we can be able to urge counties to be able to improve their poverty levels. Because if poverty level is a parameter, most counties have refused to even work hard. Honorable Speaker, there are some counties that have remained poor over the years since devolution, despite pumping so many resources into those counties, because the consideration that they know that as long as we are poor, we are going to get more resources. Honorable Speaker, the other parameter is, which has also been considered, is health status of counties. And Honorable Speaker, again, resources going to counties is supposed to help in improving lives, improving services and facilities. There are some counties that have refused to graduate, in the provision of health services, even though health is devolved. They do not employ doctors, they do not build health facilities. Therefore, because they want to use this parameter to be able to continue to earn more resources in the lateral sharing of resources among counties. So, Honorable Speaker, if you look at this formula, the Budget and Appropriations Committee agrees with the formula which has been used and in the way the resources have been allocated to counties. Especially, Honorable Speaker, that there are 12 counties that are being considered for special allocation. The counties that I've just mentioned, Honorable Speaker, these counties, we realized that with the resources that they have been given in the past, they have not been able to even undertake development projects because of the size of the counties and the resources they are receiving. Under this new formula, those particular counties have been identified. There are 12, and they are going to receive a special allocation. For the case of this formula, because we have a share of allocation of 15 billion, it means that these counties are going to get more resources for development, about 4.46 billion, which is going to go to these particular 12 counties to assist them now initiate development programs in their counties. Honorable Speaker, this formula is very simple, and I want to thank the Senate for coming up with this formula. It was a very consultative process that was able to give us this formula, and I think this formula is going to ensure that even counties that have not been able to engage properly in development programs, they will now have the opportunity to do so because of the special allocations that they have been given under this formula. Honorable Speaker, with those many remarks, I would like to move and ask my able Vice Chairman to second.
Honorable Robert Bukose, Doctor.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I stand to second. Honorable Speaker, first I want to thank the chair who led our team from the National Assembly and in discussing, and also Honorable Senator Ali Roba, who led the Senate team. Honorable Speaker, this shareable revenue formula that was forwarded to the National Assembly will go a long way in ensuring that the discussions which we had as in the mediation are able to be implemented, and each of the counties is going to benefit, because when you look at this shareable revenue formula, it is based on 415 amount, which means every county is going to benefit in terms of development. One of our colleagues, member for the Budget and Appropriation, the Honorable Mwashako, said, you know, his county of Taita, he made a joke saying that all the tall women in Taita are opting to look for outside Taita, and they're only left with the short women. So it's because the amount that they were getting, Haika can confirm, and you know she's married to Rift Valley, and she's tall. So, Honorable Speaker, this formula now ensures that Taita Taveta gets an extra 300 million. Getting an extra 300 million means they are able to do development, similar to Elgeyo Marakwet and other counties, to 12 counties that were being marginalized. And this, I hope that the counties will be able to utilize those resources. You know, Honorable Speaker, me and you comes from the western part of this country. And you know what has been happening in my county of Trans Nzoia, where resources are disappearing with no meaningful development in the county, where money is being stolen left and right. So, Honorable Speaker, it's embarrassing. You know, when devolution came in, each of the counties was expected to have meaningful development. With this shareable revenue formula, Trans Nzoia is going to get an extra 100 million, but I'm hoping that that money will not be stolen. Because if we are adding, we want to see meaningful development in Endebess. What project has the county government of Trans Nzoia done in Endebess? What project has it done in Kiminini? What meaningful project has it done in Saboti? What meaningful project has it done in Kwanza and Cherangani? That is what we want to charge our county governments with. Because the National Assembly agreeing with this formula from the Senate, and by extension from the CRA, means that they've been able to look at how possible development can be able to reach the ground. And Honorable Speaker, it will be a shame that this House appropriates that, agrees with this formula from the Senate, making sure that our people get meaningful development and money ends up in people's pockets. I think that is the most disgraceful thing that can happen. So, Honorable Speaker, this is a good formula, and we hope that it will bring meaningful developments in the counties, that each and every county will have money to do development, just not money for recurrent, but money for development. You know, some of the county governments are, instead of using the money to do development, they are employing goons so that they can move around from one constituency to the other to intimidate even members of parliament. I think that is not where we want to go as a country. And we want to ask the Inspector General of Police and the CS, Murkomen, to make sure that they rein on these goons. We should not be a country of goons, because that will mean we will deteriorate and go the Haiti way, where everybody will have his own militia. That is not what we want. So, Honorable Speaker, with this formula, I think we are happy as a Committee of Budget and Appropriation, and I hope that the National Assembly will be able to pass it. With those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I second.
Order, members on their feet, take your seats. Members on their feet, take your seats. Members at the back, take the nearest seats. Thank you. Honorable members, I'll now propose the question at order number 11, which is the taking into consideration the findings of the Budget and Appropriations Committee in its report on the consideration of the fourth basis for revenue sharing for county governments laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 19th June 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 217, 1 and 4 of the Constitution on allocation of the share of national revenue among the counties, this House concurs with the Senate and approves order. This House concurs with the Senate and approves the fourth basis for the annual allocation of the share of national revenue to the county level of government for the financial years 2025-2026 to 2029-2030 without amendments as follows. For county equitable share below Kenya shillings 415 billion. County allocation, baseline allocation ratio, Kenya shillings 387.425 billion, plus Kenya shillings 3 billion shared equally among the identified 12 counties, plus 0.45% on population index, plus 0.35% on equal share index, plus 0.12% on poverty index, plus 0.08% on geographical size index. County equitable share, Kenya shillings 390.425 billion. 2, for county equitable share of Kenya shillings 415 billion and above, count allocation equals baseline allocation ratio, Kenya shillings 387.425 billion plus Kenya shillings 4.46 billion shared equally among the identified 12 counties, plus 0.45% population index, plus 0.35% equal share index, plus 0.12% poverty index, plus 0.08 geographical size index, plus county equitable share, Kenya shillings 391.89 billion, where 1, order, Honorable Kajwang. Order. Where baseline, actually the offender is the member for Kibra. Order. Where baseline allocation ratio equals the allocation factor derived from each county's allocation for the financial year 2024-25. 2, the 12 identified counties are Elgeyo Marakwet, Embu, Isiolo, Kirinyaga, Laikipia, Lamu, Nyamira, Nyandarua, Samburu, Taita Taveta, Tharaka Nithi, and Vihiga. 3, the population index is based on the 2019 Kenya Population and Housing Census. 4, the poverty index is based on the 2022 Kenya Poverty Report by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. And 5, geographical size is capped at 10%. Oundo, I see you are the first on the screen.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. By your very guidance, probably the debate here can be rendered redundant. I don't see how we'll raise 233 to challenge. But just as through Honorable Speaker, I just would wish the Chairman of Budget and Appropriation Committee, having deliberated and dealt with this matter, to probably explain to us Kenyans on what criteria were the 12 counties selected. That is Elgeyo Marakwet, Embu, Isiolo, Kirinyaga, Laikipia, Lamu, Nyamira, Nyandarua, Samburu, Taita Taveta, Tharaka Nithi, and Vihiga. Would want to understand, is it a matter of population? Is it a matter of poverty index? What are those socioeconomic parameters that were used to select those 12 counties, considering that Kenya has been independent since 1963. We have had devolution since 2010 or it came into effect 2013. All of us will be interested to know on what basis. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, we can never discount the question of poverty index. It's so critical. Indeed, as many of my colleagues have always complained about sessional paper number 10 of 1965, that deliberately marginalize some place and parts of this country. And indeed, that element is a historical matter that will take many, many years to be resolved. Thirdly, Honorable Speaker, I would have expected, and this discussion was done, and I think in the third one, where fiscal discipline was awarded some marks, so that how much does the county itself collect in terms of own source revenue? How much does it adhere to the provisions of the Public Finance and Management Act to ensure there is prudent use of public resources and there is value for money? Dropping that criteria is giving the counties a blank check to continuously misappropriate and misuse public resources and generally make them lazy not to pursue their own source revenue. Because many Kenyans keep on asking, why would Nairobi County literally require any resources from the national government? It is the biggest county. All the resources are here. Why would it even require resources as part of the equitable share? So, Chair, Honorable Speaker, with those few remarks, I second, I support. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Osoro, are you gesturing like you want to speak?
Yeah, it's okay. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I also rise to support this particular bill and this very particular question of sharing of equitable revenue. Because, Honorable Speaker, it's about time that we get to a practical solution, Honorable Speaker, on these shareables. Even as we look at the national cake and how we are able to share across the country, Honorable Speaker, we also need to ask the county governments on what exactly are they able to reach their targets in terms of their own source revenues. And just like my colleague, Honorable Uda, has said, there are counties, Honorable Speaker, that really do not require such. Looking at Nairobi, for example, as a county, Honorable Speaker, the amount of money they collect as own source revenue is actually enough to even fund even up to 5 counties by themselves. They do not need any cake from the national government and from the exchequer. Those are the debates that we need to be having. Although, Honorable Speaker, looking at the formula that has been shared by the Honorable Atandi, there has been a progressive growth, very progressive growth on exactly what goes to the devolved units. And as I said earlier, Honorable Speaker, we started from about 320 or thereabout, or 340. Then it grew gradually to about 385. It stuck at us about 388. But now we are getting to about 415 billion shillings going to the devolved units. And this is a clear indication, Honorable Speaker, that progressively money is getting to the people. Money is moving from the central system and going to the villages, going to the county governments. But the question we need to ask ourselves, Honorable Speaker, is that is this money really getting to the people like it ought to? Does it get to the right person in the villages? Does this money, Honorable Speaker, get to be used for the particular purpose that it's meant for in the Constitution, Honorable Speaker? Those are the questions that we need to ask ourselves. And going forward, this House needs to think on how to come up with a legislation that perhaps we replicate what happens with NGCDF to the county governments. That even as we send money to the county governments, that we need to come up with a formula, perhaps on how this money should be spent. It should go down to the people, Honorable Speaker, with a vote, a particular vote. Say, for example, we should say that 40% of, not more than 60% of the amount should be used for recurrent expenditure or even salaries. Because, Honorable Speaker, even as we talk about 415 billion going to the devolved units, about 65% of that amount, Honorable Speaker, is used for salaries, is used for the recurrent expenditure. And sometimes when you look at their budgets, when they pass their budgets, you will see a huge amount of money Honorable Speaker, meant for, they say, governor's office, which you really can't tell what it does. So it's about time that this House thinks through such structures. If we are able to replicate the formula that is used on NGCDF to the county governments, then it will have a meaningful impact on the people. Because as it is currently constituted, Honorable Speaker, we send a blanket check to them, we give them the entire amount, 415 billion, they have their own source revenue, they use this money, Honorable Speaker, the way they want. About 70% of it, Honorable Speaker, does not get to impact people. And that is the question we need to have. Even as we talk about the formula, we should find a way to have this amount going down to the villages in a particular way with a specific vote. So that, Honorable Speaker, we don't have a situation where some local leaders or the MCAs or these people from, I mean, the people in the county government, Honorable Speaker, they do not turn governors as demigods, that they have got to worship them, to kneel before them so that they can get development. And that is why we are fast-tracking the question of the World Development Fund, so that even the county assemblies are made to be autonomous. They do not need to rely on the office of the governor to have the funds. So, Honorable Speaker, even as I support this, I challenge this House to think through a legislation that will take this money to the counties with a particular vote, that 20% is for salaries, 30% is for this particular purpose, so that it's replicated like the NGCDF. You don't just let it be as it is, that a governor decides on, there is no cap on what you can't spend beyond whatever amount so that it gets to reach the people, Honorable Speaker. That is the discussion that we should be having. And also challenge the governors and the county governments that we are still struggling, even as we continue growing gradually. Now today we are at 415. We are still struggling, and not just us, even Kenyans who are watching us are also struggling to identify what these billions do in the counties. When you also, what this amount, huge amount of money, is whether this huge amount of money is felt in the counties. We are still struggling to understand. But again, as I sit down, Honorable Speaker, we challenge the counties like Nairobi. These are questions that we also need to discuss. Capitals, cities, or big cities like Nairobi, Honorable Speaker, Mombasa, and several other counties, do they really need this amount from the exchequer? Do they need to share because the own source revenue from these counties is actually enough to even fund even 5 other counties. We need to ask ourselves that challenge, Honorable Speaker. I was looking at the budget, the Nairobi County government budget, Honorable Speaker. I realized it's actually triple what Rwanda passes as a national budget. It's more than the budget of a whole country like Rwanda. The budget of Nairobi County as a city, Honorable Speaker. Looking at their own source revenue, Honorable Speaker, you will also realize it's too much, and it's quite enough, Honorable Speaker, that can be able to fund so many other county governments. So, as I support, Honorable Speaker, those are the questions we need to ask ourselves, whether these big cities really require this national cake, number one. Number two, how we'll be able to replicate the law on NGCDF, on the act on NGCDF, to the county government, so that as we send money, it goes with a particular vote and nobody will be able to spend this and this. And also the question of pending bills, we also tell them that this particular vote is meant for pending bills, so that you don't need to form committees. Because what they do, Honorable Speaker, immediately a new county government or a governor takes over, he forms a committee, that is also paid by the government, by their very own county fund, to see and review whether the predecessor had genuine pending bills. Honorable Speaker, there should be a system that checks that. It shouldn't be like you're forming a committee, you are paying them. After this committee, it's again rechecked by another committee. Those are the challenges, Honorable Speaker, that we have as far as devolution is concerned. But with those very many remarks, I still support. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Osoro. Allow me, members, to acknowledge the following schools before we continue with the debate. In the public gallery, we have Katimoril Secondary School from Kapenguria in West Pokot. We have Kianjiuni Comprehensive School from Maragua in Murang'a County, and Thome Primary and Junior School from Gilgil, Nakuru. On my behalf and on behalf of the House, we welcome the students, their teachers, and those accompanying them to the House of Parliament. And I've been requested by the member for Gilgil to give her 1 minute to acknowledge and welcome the school from her constituency, and indeed all the others.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for indulging me, and I want to take this opportunity to welcome the students and the pupils in the gallery. And Mr. Speaker, allow me to thank you and also the clerk's office, because this session and this parliament specifically has been a very good training ground for our students and our children. And it is important because some of the schools you see here, especially that school called Thome, is all the way near Eburu Forest in Gilgil. So for them to have the opportunity to come and observe the proceedings of this house is quite a privilege, and we hope that we can continue with the same. And I welcome all the students, Mr. Speaker, to know that it can be them who are sitting here. Tomorrow, it will be their chance. But for today, they observe and learn. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Shako. Member for Undanyi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this chance to put my comments on the fourth basis for sharing revenue to counties, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this fourth basis formula is an encouraging step in our country, where we are seeing that the Senate, starting at CRA, they've been able to capture some imagination of the country. Honorable Speaker, we know that resource distribution anywhere in the world is a very seriously contested issue. It is never easy to share resources, distribute resources to different corners of the country. And when we bequeathed ourselves the new constitution in 2010, Honorable Speaker, devolution was the main theme, the main item that made Kenyans support devolution, as it were. Honorable Speaker, this formula gives hope to small counties, including my county of Taita Taveta. Honorable Speaker, we are pleased and we are happy to support this formula because CRA and Senate have agreed to put aside money that will be shared among the small, so-called small counties, the 6 counties, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, these small counties have perennially had really issues because they are not able to raise enough resources to fund the development of specific needs of those counties, Honorable Speaker. Vihiga being one of them, West Pokot being one of them, Trakanithi, Lamu, Taita Taveta, to name but a few. Honorable Speaker, when we consider only population and geographical size and poverty, it does not capture the minimum resource requirement, minimum resource wallet that is required to run a county, Honorable Speaker. And therefore today when I see in this formula, there is an attempt to set aside 3 billion to be divided among the 12 counties. It gives me a lot of encouragement, Honorable Speaker. And to make even matters better, Honorable Speaker, when this House, I sit in the Budget Committee, Honorable Speaker, and we did agree that we should give counties more money, Honorable Speaker. And today we passed in this House that Division of Revenue Bill, and now that we give counties 415 billion shillings. And in this, Honorable Speaker, it means the small county, the 12 counties that are so-called small counties, Honorable Speaker, will be able to get a total of 4.46 billion to share amongst themselves, Honorable Speaker. And if you divide that by 12 counties, Honorable Speaker, you realize that each county will receive in excess of 370 billion Kenya shillings. I want to urge the governors from these small counties that indeed this money, the biggest challenge that we've had in counties like Taita Taveta, Honorable Speaker, is in the area of health care. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, I want to urge my governor, I want to urge the members of the county assembly, I want to urge the executive, that when this money comes, because this money is coming as an affirmative fund to fund the development needs of our county. That 370 billion, Honorable Speaker, I want to urge my governor to make use of that money and fund the entire of it, fund the health budget, Honorable Speaker. Because our people are suffering. We do not have enough equipment in our hospitals. We don't have enough hospitals themselves. Like in Voi, Honorable Speaker, Taita Taveta, we have a level 4 hospital that would expect it to be improved to a real standard level 4 hospital, or even if possible, Honorable Speaker, to build a proper level 5 hospital in Taita Taveta, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, I want to say the entire 370 billion, should all of it be channeled to health, to promote health, to build new facilities, to put equipment in those health facilities, and where possible to support the health workers to find so that they have everything that they need, their monies, that whatever monies they need to get that money, that 370 affirmative fund should go into that sector, Honorable Speaker. I want to say, Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, that devolution should be protected. And I want to stand as an advocate of protecting devolution, but I want to also warn a few individuals, particularly, let me warn CRA. When the first formula for marginalization policy was made, it identified 14 counties to have been marginalized since independence. Today, Honorable Speaker, we expanded out of the 14 counties. Today we're talking about 33 counties being marginalized. We're talking about 107 constituencies being marginalized. And therefore, the marginalization of money that was to go to 14 counties, it's been divided into very small amounts, and therefore does not do any meaningful activity, Honorable Speaker. I want to warn and say, the 12 counties that have been identified in this fourth basis of sharing revenue to counties, there should not be any dilution. There should never be an attempt to expand from 12 to any number, because we know that these 12 counties require these resources, they require this money, so that then they can grow in the same manner that, as the other big counties are growing, Honorable Speaker. I want to conclude, Honorable Speaker, by saying I support this bill, I support this formula, and therefore, Honorable Speaker, we should always support the small counties to get more funding, Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
It is very easy to know the members eyeing the seat of the governor in future. And we can easily listen to them. The Honorable Gideon Ochanda, the MP for Bondo.
Mr. Speaker, eyeing the seat for governorship, I think, I don't want to get in those troubles too early. Mr. Speaker, as I look forward to contributing properly to this motion, I want to remind ourselves and the entire House of a number of things. Definitely there has to be a formula in terms of how we place resources horizontally. But besides that, in as much as the chair has brought us what the Senate has looked at, I want to believe and I want to say that there are many other things that are not yet looked at properly, which are factors that really need to be looked at. Number one are the constitutional considerations that we have. There are provisions in the Constitution in Article 203, and if you allow me to read one or two of them, Chair, is that consideration needs to be looked at in, for example, if you look at the factors that are given in the Constitution in Article 203, of specific concern is, for example, the need to ensure that county governments are able to perform the functions that are allocated to them. I think this is a factor that when we are looking at placement of revenue to counties, who is it that has ascertained? Who is it that has really computed in terms of what is it that the counties are supposed to be doing, their functions, the kind of functions that are already transferred, the value of those functions before we place resources in them. The other important factor that the Constitution provides that has not been looked at is the issue of the fiscal capacity and efficiency of the county governments. Again, the Revenue Allocation Commission needs to be looking at these things before we place money to these counties. The issue of capacity, fiscal capacity, the issue of efficiency. We have counties which are basically, which needs to be closed down. When you look at the issues of efficiency and the capacity, fiscal capacity. These are critical factors and they are constitutional provisions that we really need to really look at every single time that we are placing resources. The other thing, Chair, is the whole issue of every single time. Like 2 months ago, we placed more money to counties in the name of additional resources, additional funding to counties. We passed here a motion and we gave them more money. So at what stage do we consider or do we look at these additional monies that we place for counties when we are doing the horizontal placement of resources? That's a critical thing that needs to be looked at. The whole issue of additional, and look at it in terms of even the functions that the national government is still doing for counties. Where are those monies? Where do we look at them? For example, the issue of markets. The markets alone this year or last year, we put together, we have placed a lot of money to markets, which are basically functions of the county governments that are being done by the national government. The other thing, Mr. Speaker, that we need to look at is the issue of grants. Each year, there are grants that are going to counties. But at the point of looking at which counties are getting what monies or what resources, nobody looks at the counties that have been getting grants. For example, Embu is listed as one of those that needs to be looked at in a very positive way. But you look at the grants, you realize that Embu has had grants more than Busia in the past number of years. So, Mr. Speaker, I think this is something that must be looked at in terms of where do we normally take our grants to. When we are talking about additional revenues, where do we take those additional revenues to? And all those are factors that must be looked at every single time that we are trying to look at the issue of placement of resources. The last one, Mr. Speaker, is we are placing resources to where Equalization Fund has also placed resources. The Constitution has provided in terms of Equalization Fund where some of these monies are supposed to go to. So how come that we are again placing money to counties based on factors that Equalization Fund is being used for? Meaning that some of these places are getting more money or getting double monies because Equalization Fund gives the money, and on this other side, the issue of placement, horizontal placement of money also gives them money. So, Mr. Speaker, those are critical factors that we need to be looking at moving forward. Somebody's going to challenge us in court one time. How come we are not using the constitutional factors that are supposed to be looked at very keenly? How come we add more money after this kind of resources have already been placed? How come we have grants that are going to counties and we don't look at them? And how come, again, we place factors that are used by another fund for purposes of horizontal placement of funds, Mr. Speaker? Thank you.
The Honorable Tom Joseph Francis Kajwang, MP for Waraka.
Mr. Speaker, sir, even though I do not intend to marshal 2/3 of the House to surmount rejection of this bill, I must, however, speak to the negative. I find the formula that has been used by the Commission to be fairly simplistic. I think 15 years of constitutional dispensation, we needed to appraise and understand what statistical method would best suit discussions about revenue shares. When you limit it to population and geographical and poverty index alone, a lot of other parameters, statistical parameters, may not be, may be left aside, which dovetail to production or development in a county. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise, after listening to the speakers before me, decry that why, for example, a capital city such as Nairobi be given such a huge amount in terms of revenue share. I want to come to defense of Nairobi, both because I come from Nairobi City, but because I also live and do business in Nairobi. Now, Nairobi is the apex. In terms of GDP, you develop places where factors of production are easily harnessed and easily developed to sustain a quick at robust changes into the GDP. Infrastructure, that is where you put your finest infrastructure, because the population is fairly industrial. The population is fairly active and productive. That is where thinking as a nation, not thinking as a sub-clan or as an entity, you must think of how to quickly develop your urban areas to bring for you the development you want. Mr. Speaker, I would expect that certain. Mr. Speaker, I thought I could get your attention on this. Mr. Speaker, I would expect such development parameters like development index, where other factors are considered like life expectancy, for example, like reproductive health, for example, like the fact that what are the factors of production that are in that county, what are the minerals are there. I wouldn't have a problem if Taita Taveta, for example, had some money because they need to produce those minerals they have there. I wouldn't mind if Turkana were given some more allocation because they needed to bring the oil that is suspected to be there. But if you simply disperse money because they are counties, because they have been defined in the constitution, you may want to appease everybody, but you do not get into real development of a nation that result into an enhanced GDP. We must be thinking of a nation, although there is devolution, which then brings which then allows us to harness our rural folk, but we must be thinking as a nation. So even if, for example, Migori were to be the leaders in terms of springing us for GDP, take money in Migori and get Migori to give the country a shot towards Singapore. So in my view is that I think we need to have some intellectual discourse on these formulas. And I think we need to be patriotic as a nation more than we think we are small particles called the counties. And the last thing I think we need to do is we should put money where money will result into more money and real happiness. Sometimes real happiness is not about money. Sometimes real happiness is about social protection. Sometimes real money is about social justice. Just the other day, and we've seen it, young people are protesting around, running all over. It should worry you, it should concern you that social protection, social justice in Nairobi, for example, is a low indicator. So there are some of these things which we need to put together, although I admit that it is a fairly complex science, but I think that we need to put our minds into it so that we come to a more reasonable and an agreed formula. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, because I know Daktari knows that I do not have 2/3 to override this motion, I nonetheless leave it in the Hansard that somebody will consider that I, TJ Kajwang, had very, very robust criticism about the formula which is being used. Thank you so much.
The Honorable Dr. James Nyikal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I rise to actually support the report and this formula. I think it is actually an improvement of the formula that was used to before, and I know how much work has been put into it. However, I think it has limitation, Mr. Speaker, because it's basically based on three things: population size, land size, and poverty index. Now, looking at poverty index is actually looking at the reverse. It would have been better to look at human development index, because that is what is telling you what people actually need. Poverty index is to a large extent telling you how much people are suffering without telling you very much what they need to do. And therefore, if we used human development index, which then will tell you how people are doing in terms of health, how people are doing in terms of education, how people are doing in terms of standard of living. For example, in health, you will use such figures as life expectancy as birth. And if you go into that, then you find out why is it that people are living shorter. In this country, if you go to, you find that in Nyanza, probably the life expectancy is much shorter than it is in the central parts of the country. And you ask why. Then you think of years of school. By the age of 25, how long have people been in school and what have they actually achieved? And then you look at per capita income. I think those will give you a much more robust indicator or index. And then you can actually use really practical things, like you will use distance to health centers. How far do people walk in a given county to the nearest health center? The amount of tarmac roads in kilometers per individual. Those are actually much more direct way of looking at, and they give you, if you look at tarmac roads, then you can actually say how much more do we need of tarmac roads. If you look at the distance to health facilities, you then actually can come out and say these are the number of health facilities we need in this area, so these people will need this. So I think as much as they're using poverty index, I would say they should work next time with the human development index and then look at the components of the human development index that will give you direct input that you need to actually use to estimate the amount of income, the amount of money that should be given the county. But, Mr. Speaker, much more important is how the money is used. Every time we stand here, Mr. Speaker, we talk of corruption in the counties, corruption in the counties. True, I've looked at that. To me, what has changed a lot since devolution is actually the number of very expensive houses that you see in the countryside. And when you ask most of them, you find these people are actually working in counties. And I say, well, at least something has happened. So we talk of that corruption, but there's one thing we don't look at. What about the systems? The systems do help us to actually reduce corruption. We cannot eliminate them, but to reduce corruption. Financial systems. It is just last week we were actually talking of the financial systems that we use in the county. We have the bigger Public Finance Act, but how well are people trained on this? If you look at procurement systems, how well are people trained at the county level in this? If you look at human resource. Now, I'll give an example of health sector which I'm familiar with. I think of devolved functions, the function that has the largest number of human resource at the county level is health. And it is so complex, and that's why we have these issues. Now, if you look at training, we have a school of government, and there's only one in the country. One would have expected that at this time, we should actually have several schools of government in various parts because of devolution, so that these officers actually, officers at the county level get the appropriate training. We compare county governments with the national government. The national government has been in existence for over 100 years. So the experience that has been gathered and the number of people who have that experience in national government is huge. County governments have just been here for about 10 years. However much we expect them to gather experience, we need a lot more intensive training
for these counties. Another thing that is coming very clear, like in this, they are figuring out the 12 counties because they are small. The size of counties also matter, Mr. Speaker, because personally I believe that the counties we have are too small. And the evidence is that the counties themselves are now coming with regional blocks. They have realized that if we need to be more prospective, be more productive, we need to be larger. They are telling us, so we ask in Naivasha, how did we get to this number 47? Well, I know it may be now very difficult to go back and say, can we go back to the 8 that were originally proposed? So these are issues that actually we must keep looking at. The other issue is that the raising of own revenue. I think we should put an index in this distribution formula that indicates how much own revenue has a county raised. And then we actually reward those who are doing well on raising their own funds, probably should get more so that there's an incentive. Otherwise, what happens, we don't work on the raising our own revenue. We want to depend to a large extent what comes from this formula. So, Mr. Speaker, I've said before and I say now, we had a committee for the implementation of the Constitution, which was to a large extent legal, which then actually died, which was term was over. Then we came with the Transition Authority, then we now intergovernmental. This House actually has a committee on implementation of the Constitution. And I think we should regularly be looking at what we need to do. How are the structures? How are the performances? If every time we are having MCAs working very hard to impeach governors, what are the factors behind it? So if the governors are not, if the counties are not performing, what are the factors that are there? And then we can then review the whole issue of county governance with these facts that we have in mind. So I think this is a fairly scientific and very difficult formula they are working on, but it can give a basis for regular review of how devolution is working. With that, Mr. Speaker, I support.
Thank you. The Honorable Dr. Makali Mulu, MP for Kitui Central.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. Honorable Speaker, I want to join my colleagues in commenting on this fourth generation formula. And as I do that, I want from the word go to say that if I was able to move the numbers, I would have opposed this formula. But now that we'll not be able to move the numbers, let's go on record on a number of issues. Honorable Speaker, sharing of public resources has never been an easy assignment. In some countries, it actually triggers war. In some countries, it causes serious conflicts because resources generally is what determines how areas or regions are going to develop. Honorable Speaker, I've looked at the factors being considered in this fourth generation formula, and I've at all the previous three, and now this is the fourth generation. And if you analyze from the first one to the fourth one, they have always been dropping some things, reducing every year. And what has happened, Honorable Speaker, reducing every year. And what has happened, Honorable Speaker, is now that we are going back to pushing population to be the leading factor. But Honorable Speaker, through this on paper number 10 of 1965, because those areas were developed, what happened? People migrated from marginalized area to high potential areas. So in terms of population, automatically, population of those areas is very high. So what we are going, Honorable Speaker, through this formula, this fourth generation, we actually almost like now coming back to the system of paper number 10 of 1965 in terms of